like money, motherfucker? Money be green. Money feel like money. That shit look green to you?
All right. So for all of our betting fans, listen, this is going to be a great fight to bet on. Canelo Alvarez straight up on the money line, minus 430. And then you got Jermell Charlo as the underdog. No surprise, but a plus 300. He's an undisputed champion. I know he's moving up 2 weight classes, but Bryan, is this line disrespectful to a guy like Jermell Charlo?
I think the line is kind of perfect. The reason why is because, and I think it's a little disrespectful to Jermell Charlo, but the reason why I think the line is perfect is because there's just enough there for me to look at it and be like, Jermell Charlo plus 300, and then really think about trying to bet him as the underdog. Whereas if this was Canelo Alvarez minus 280, Jermell Charlo plus 210, I'd be like, nah, like I'll just throw Canelo money line on a parlay or something along those lines, like a 3-legger parlay with like Iowa football under and your Las Vegas Raiders. And we'll see what happens. Like,
I still don't call them the Las Vegas Raiders, but it's just tough for me.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that I just did that either. But it's just fine. But like, I ultimately think that the line is fair. I think if this wasn't Jermell Charlo coming off a layoff, maybe we'd see something different. But he is, and he's coming up 2 weight classes. And honestly, this is actually a better line than I think a lot of guys would get coming up 2 weight classes fighting Canelo Alvarez off a 16-month layoff. And that's respect to Jermell Charlo, who, again, undisputed champion at 154. So I don't think the line is totally unfair.
I think it's a little bit disrespectful. I mean, he's an undisputed champ. I think it's also because a lot of people leave Mel off the pound for pound list. It's crazy. He's an undisputed champ, but there will be people that leave him off and that don't believe in him. So I think this is the same type of disrespect as well. I would see, maybe Jermell Charlo being like a minus like 250. 200, like I'd be okay with that, but plus 300 at the same time, like if I'm betting on this and I'm rolling with a guy like Mel, I love this line.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm gonna just place my money straight up on the money line. You know what I mean? So how are you going to be betting this fight?
Yeah, so I'm going to be betting on Canelo Alvarez to win this fight. I really try to talk myself into the upset, and if you do, please say so in the chat. Because I think there are some people, I've talked to some people who think that they're making a lot of what they saw against Dimitri Bivol and then John Ryder. And then it's like, is Canelo Alvarez slipping? Because it's not just that he's 33. It's also how long he's sort of been near at the top of boxing, been in title fights, more than 20 of them since 2011. Jermell Charlo's been in 9, of which he has 6 knockouts in, not TKO stoppages, knockouts, like just flatlining dudes. Charles Hatley, Erickson Lubin, etc. But I bet on Canelo Alvarez to win this fight by unanimous decision at plus 125, because I do think that Canelo Alvarez is going to get some of the early rounds, and I question how close Jermell Charlo could ultimately make it in the eyes of the judges, right? I just think that while, look, I could be talking about 115, 113, 116, 112. I think it might be like 117, 111 and things of that nature. But I do think Jermell Charlo gets a few rounds, has some moments, looks good in some spots, but I think the layoff is going to catch up. And maybe he gets some late rounds after Canelo's long settled in, because Canelo sort of fades and fights a little bit. Or at least did against John Ryder. Maybe that's where Jermell Charlo gets some rounds, but I think it'll be similar to, to some other Canelo performances where he mounts sort of a big lead and then fades late. Faded against John Ryder, faded against an old Triple G. Obviously faded against Dimitri Bivol because he didn't win many rounds in that fight. But I think it'll trend that way, and I ultimately do think it's going to be a unanimous decision, though. I think Canelo Alvarez is going to get enough rounds. I think he's going to really hurt Jermell Charlo to the body. I think the length and the reach is not something that's going to be foreign to Canelo Alvarez, and he's going to have that Canelo Alvarez power. I just don't think he's going to finish Jermell Charlo either, though. I think Jermell Charlo is going to be able to withstand it. So plus 125, I bet that on DraftKings. Unanimous decision, Canelo Alvarez. A decision straight up was -110. I was looking at that, but I was like, let me take a little bit more juice for the UD. So
Yeah, when I take a look at this fight, Canelo Alvarez coming into this fight, so many questions because of that John Ryder match. Listen, did you see John Ryder's face after that fight? The boy was tore up. He is just very, very tough, and got to give props to a guy like John Ryder. But Canelo was also coming off of a layoff because he had surgery on his wrist, so it was his first fight coming off that surgery, of course. So you have to take that into account. Is he getting old? He's 33 years old. He's been fighting since he was 15 years old. Like, the amount of fights that this guy has, the amount of miles that he has on his body is ridiculous. Then you look at a guy like Jermell Charlo, who hasn't fought for a minute, right? And that layoff is the only thing that worries me. And so when I was taking a look at this fight from the beginning, like if you go back to our videos, I was like, I think Jermell has a chance in this fight. And he does. Because like I mentioned earlier, his right hand, he's going to be landing that the whole entire night. That is usually his go-to, his straight right. Pretty good jab, but I think he has a double, triple jab if he's going to want to beat Canelo on the cards. I don't really see that happening, though. I think there's only one way that Jermell wins this fight. I think he has to knock him out.
ugh.
And that's the thing.
That's tough.
I think he has to knock him out, and I just don't see that happening, especially coming off a layoff. And I don't think it's a tough thing though, because I think if Jermell Charlo throws like the double, triple jabs, and keeps his distance, kind of like Bivol did, right? Because that's also the blueprint to beat a guy like Canelo. Like, keep your distance, get in and out. You got to stick and move. You got to stick and move. But the thing about Canelo is, he's going to come forward. Mel doesn't like fighting on the inside. He doesn't like fighting on the inside. So if Canelo is obviously going to get to the body, that's his thing. He's going to be able to land the jab. He's going to be the one stalking Mel because Mel's going to be trying to keep the distance the whole entire time. But I think Canelo's going to be able to close the gap. He's going to be able to land those body shots. But I think Mel is going to be able to land the right hand a couple of times. Yeah. And his right hand is powerful, but his left hook is nasty. People don't talk about that man's left hook enough. They always talk about the right hand. Some people say Jermell only has a right hand. That's a lie. Like, if you think Jermell Charlo only has a right hand, you're not watching him box close enough. He has a nasty left hook as well. I think Jermell has a chance. So if you want to sprinkle, I'm just saying, if you wanted to sprinkle on this belt, right? Because there is a chance. There definitely is a chance that a guy like Jermell could get the KO TKO. It's a plus 950. I'm not betting that way. I was looking on FanDuel. I'm going by unanimous decision as well, because on FanDuel, it was a minus 120 for Canelo to win by decision. Maybe the lines have changed because I looked last night. But right now, it's a plus 115 for Canelo Alvarez to win by unanimous decision. So where did you get your odds from? Because you said
DraftKings plus 125.
Okay. Go to DraftKings then, y'all. because the odds are better there. Because I think it's so hard, and we've seen it before. It was on one of the comments. I'll have to go back. But I do think that Canelo lost that first fight against Triple G. I think Triple G was robbed there. I thought if anything was a draw, it was that second fight. And then obviously Canelo did work in that third fight and didn't even look like Triple G. But it's so hard to win against Canelo Alvarez in Vegas. Like that. And that's why I'm saying Mel's not going to get this decision, right? He's not going to outbox Canelo unless he pulls like a Bivol and throws like the double, triple jabs, moves around, sticks and moves, and makes Canelo like gas out near the end because
not really his style though. Not really.
It's not right, but
yeah.
he has the opportunity to land a big punch on Canelo. Like there's a chance that happens. The only other thing though with that layoff, let's go back to the Bryan Castano fight. Yo, Mel got hit a lot. Like, let's call it spade a spade. He got hit a lot in both of the fights. And
against Tony Harrison, particularly the first time. There was another fight. I want to say it was the John Jackson fight. There was a fight early on in Mel's title fighting days at super welterweight where he was getting hit a lot, and there were a couple different times where he was behind on the cards and got a knockout, or I felt like he should have been behind on the cards, got a knockout. So that's another reason why I picked unanimous decision. Like, Mel's gonna give up rounds, and Canelo's gonna have to deal with an onslaught as Mel goes for broke late. But you talk about Jermell Charlo's straight right hand. Canelo Alvarez is able to avoid that and get that left hook to the body, because I think that's the punch he's gonna be looking for, because that body's gonna be open when Jermell Charlo is going to open up, and if Canelo Alvarez is close enough, He's going to look to land that left hook to the body. I think that's going to be his money punch. He likes to double it up on the left side, body head, or head body in either direction. So I think that's what Canelo Alvarez is going to be looking to land for much of this fight.
And that's another reason why I took a look at this other bet if you wanted to sprinkle, because I do think the layoff is an issue for Jermell. We saw what happened to Josh Taylor. Like, we see what a layoff does. And when you're fighting one of the best boxers in the world, yes, I said one of the best boxers for all the haters. All right, in the chat, you know who you are. Okay.
Yeah, there's some smoke going on in the chat. Yo, be cool,
I love
cool,
it.
guys. You know?
I love it though. I love it though. Keep it coming, guys. You guys are the best. I think another interesting bet would be for Canelo Alvarez to win in rounds 7 through 12. Plus 450, because I do think there's a possibility if he is breaking down Jermell like that he could get a stoppage in the later rounds. I think that's definitely a possibility for a guy like Canelo.
Yeah, and it's funny because like there are certain dudes in boxing. I didn't think Terrence Crawford would stop Errol Spence, and definitely not the way he did. So I don't think Jermell Charlo is somebody who's going to get stopped, but coming off a layoff against Canelo Alvarez, moving up 2 weight classes, if there's a spot that you want to take this bet, to Chantelle's point, I have no problem with that at all. And it's something that I would potentially look at. I may live bet, like it may be something where like I'll look for something in the early rounds and then try to get it late. But it's probably better value if you do it now than, you know, after the opening bell.
Yeah.